Today, it's year 15. We've seen war. Every once in a while, one of those ogres or trolls pass the lines and come onto our side to taunt Hannah. Hannah survived death. They taunt Hannah because of the ID issue. They say stuff like, "We're building our own Hosh Hanna." And Hannah responds to them, "You can do whatever you like." But they seem to rotate around Hannah because Hannah's real God's chosen. If there's questions about the authenticity of the real, it's very easily provable. First of all, it has to be linked to Ararat. There's a reason. So the Germans rushed Turkey, the Christians rushed Turkey, and the Indians rushed Turkey. Poor Turks. They were following the order of the smaller Illuminati guys who also worship the ram. But Hannah can never be duplicated. You can, it just won't be in the same authentic form. There's only one woman conceived in Ararat, born in Istanbul, and raised in the Americas with an urban backing. That's the real Hannah, which is Yildiz Ilkin. Ilkin is the name that's famous. And while they were building Ilkin, Ali Baba's thieves were right behind, which is part of C3's history, which is also part of biblical. You can turn around and make Hosh Hanna many different, like what they're doing today. And that's kind of a repeat, but we have to go through it. Hosh Hanna can only be Canadian, can only be blonde, and can only be from Ararat. That's the natural version in a fluke true story. Not Germanic blonde, local blonde. Because remember, that DNA migration splits were the more petite forms of blonde that Europe historically crushed. Trying to hide it, embarrassed of the connectivity of blonde. That's another massive module. How Europe was embarrassed about the connectivity of smaller blondes and mixing them in with gypsy. In Bulgaria, creating a hub of Illuminati there. This is a true story now. Now let's go through it. We can do all kinds of Hannah. The Chinese can do one because, it's native based. When I say native based, it's not really native because native is still settlement. It's about 10 to 20,000 years prior to Christ. That's the real version now. So I would eliminate the Chinese because Hannah has to be, out of thousands of women, blonde. The first white's blonde. Hannah can only have sons. You see, this is God's foundation. I'm actually going backwards. I am telling you how these things were produced. Hannah can only have male children. That is the agriculture of 20,000 years prior and the hybriding of valuable sheep and its association with women. Now that sounds crazy, but when Hannah was 14, a medical doctor told her a story that sheep and women are identical in southern Turkey. Don't dog it. We are all from southern Turkey. It's just some are historic and beautiful because it's a look into the past. I'm going backwards now. So China's out of it. Then there's the thieves. Hannah cannot be a thief, the real biblical Hannah, because it's linked to nobility. Was the real Hannah a thief? No, she was not. They tried to frame her. It backfired with the thousands of emails put into different email categories. One of those emails would embarrass the crap out of any of the Alibabas out there. Now, Alibaba kind of sounds Indian, but everybody's Indian. And India is one of those countries that's kind of split into two, where one is very, very rogue and the other one is very noble. So you don't want to offend the noble ones. Because Hannah's grandfather, even though he was brought into a poor area, he still became noble. He was a mathematician. Big, big, big importance in Ottoman history. I'm going backwards. The reason why God gave this woman all these things. So Hosh Hanna has to be of honor. You can't steal and rob from the planet, wear gloves, and be Hosh Hanna. Because it's not biblical then. It is just entertainment. It is something not researched. It is just entertainment. Pussy clad. You just stole 50,000 rupees from thousands of people around the globe, and you're walking around like Hosh Hanna? You cannot be Hosh Hanna. You can be Alibaba Squadron's wife as Hannah. Analogy. You just can't. That is a repeat. So they're out of it because they did theft. They carried it over to India when it didn't belong in India. So they're out of it. So the Chinese and the Indian are out of it so far. We're going down the list. Let's look at the Russians now. They also want Hosh Hanna. When they heard the story in detailed format, they immediately came out of it. We made our money. Good for you, Russia. Don't forget the 4.5% build by Hosh Hanna. Let's look at Iran and the Orthodox and Jews planning Hosh Hanna, or Saint Olive. She also can't be Hosh Hanna, and I'm going to explain why. Because she stole my ID as the actress, because the real Saint Olive died. Was a young girl. If you steal someone's ID, you're still a thief, posing as Hosh Hanna. So Saint Olive, the thief, can't be Hannah. The lands are honor-based. Honor-based is what the reason Christ came into Anatolia. They were looking for nobility, for a different existence. You can't just jack somebody's ID and thousands of IDs and then walk around like Hannah. That's Alibaba conning people. The devil conning people. Hannah has to be of honor. The real Hannah quietly sat and worked. Saint Olive's double was the thief. Someone's ID theft. Well, I just put your face on it. You putting my face on it left me to die in 2018 as part of Illuminati's humor. If you're killing Christ, you cannot be Hosh Hanna. You're a thief. Get grounded. But that's how Hannah handles war. It's based off a true story. So, Israel, China, India are out. Then we have the Kardashians. That's a doozy too. A Godzilla. They are with the Indian team. They automatically disqualify because they too helped the actress of Saint Olive build the cartel of Hannah. If you're building a cartel of Hannah, that's the Magdalena Hannah. That's the devil's Hannah, and that's okay too. But it can't be biblical Hosh Hanna because it's a true story and it's based out of Ararat. And it has to be a friggin' blonde, because it goes with the authentic version of the story 20,000 years before Christ. It has to be boys, because there had to have been more than one blonde. It had to be a woman who produced boys, getting the name in Greek Elena. Because Helena is Hosh Hanna. Now the Greeks know. But the Greeks now want to build Hosh Hanna. But they also screwed up in the authentic version, and someone turned around and got them injured badly. So if they screwed up, they can't be Hannah either. Hannah is custom to the sky. I'm educating you now. You don't want to hear it, that's okay. But it's the basic true story of Hannah. It's how the devil followed her. She's innocently working on anti-war, not realizing the devil from the sky is following the story of Christ and whacking off Syria, the whole area. We connected the pieces of the puzzle and why it's biblical. So, Hannah having brown children now, let's talk about that, is also part of the real story of Hosh Hanna. She's bringing in, on a permanent basis, the first white race. You see, I'm working backwards as to why it's Hannah. 20,000 years prior, whites started becoming permanent. The fusion of colors is another reason she's Hannah. There's a reason God made her produce boa. Boa's not a bad thing. It's Egypt, Africa, which makes sense with the Ararat portion of the story. So if you don't know, all you have to do is ask the real Hannah. What happened to Hannah? They martyred her. They took off skull, limbs, sloshed it. They martyred her. What did someone do, which is the snake rod and the light? Following Hannah 20,000 years prior. They glued her back together like a Raggedy Ann doll. So instead of fucking with Hannah, because she's still urban, give Hannah her money so she can finish. Because everybody got money except for Hannah, who got $2.49. Yes, my medical bill's very expensive. But you came in and got Hannah injured. You surrounded Hannah. Hannah didn't want that. Hannah wanted to work with the Archives of Canada. If you want to do your own Hannah, just be respectful to credit the Turk Hannah or the Sky Turk Hannah, because that's the authentic version of the story. And guess what? Hannah is an integrated word, and so is Prophet Hannah. Otherwise, she would never know. It's the Kurds who gave her Hannah in 2005. That's also biblical. That means there's some type of connection to the transition of modern. Now, if you're atheist, Hannah, the real Hannah as mother, is whipping up the story to get these religious people to kind of modernize. There's nothing wrong with that. Everything about our earth will be different because of Hannah. What is Hannah? Hannah is life, and that is why the devil landed in the year 2000, creating 9/11. Is Hannah lying? Is it just a made-up story? No, all you gotta do is look at IATA records. Subpoena them. Subpoena the Pentagon if you want to know the truth. Well, if you're sitting there thinking it's fake, not doing your research, not subpoenaing in the courts, then when you get the shock of your lives, don't punish Hannah, Because at least Hannah told you the truth. Hannah is also a Negro, which also makes sense to the proximity of Africa. This is 20,000 years prior now. She's bringing in the first whites. It's Hannah. White is not a color of glory. It's a concept of being superior from internal. The light of Hannah, or the sunshine of Hannah. All these things given to one woman is what generated 360-degree change. Because you know what, men? You're out of hand. Another entry.